Well, we return for part four of a three-part experiment. Yes, I know, very good maths, isn't it? But the truth is, it was only going to be a three-part experiment until you guys got involved in the comments, both in the final episode of the head coach save and in the early parts of the experiment. We're trying to get to the bottom of what's caused this problem that seems to only be affecting Bayern Munich, the club that we were at when the January update was released. For those of you that don't know and haven't seen the first three parts of this experiment, the three planned scheduled parts of it, you can find it up in the eye above. But in simple terms, for the last 5 or 6 years on this channel, our main save has been a head coach director of football challenge, where we have no say in transfer staffing and contracts and leave that all to the director of football. It started very well this year, but when we got to Bayern and the January update, we had problems. 14 senior players sold the first season, one outfield replacement in a January window, loads of youth players that are out on loan as well, no links with anyone, no youth signings, no senior signings. We were left with a 13-man senior outfield squad. Not what you would expect from elite super clubs that have 300 million as a transfer budget remaining. So we've been trying to work out what's been causing it and where the issues lie. We've had one stint where we've resigned from Bayern and seen what's happened when they've brought in a replacement and a new director of football that came with them. The result was okay, but not overwhelmingly positive. We then did a second stint where we stayed in charge and holidayed, and that was a disaster. The squad got even smaller and basically couldn't compete at the top, didn't even win the Bundesliga, and didn't look like doing it the following year. Then on Monday, we resigned from Bayern and we went to another super club in Liverpool, which was the next job that came up. We swapped jobs with Didier Deschamps, essentially. Bayern didn't do a great deal to improve their squad depth, but thankfully and most crucially, the director of football functioned properly at Liverpool. That means our new alternate head coach series that we've had planned for months can start on Sunday evening. I'm looking forward to that one. However, there is a crucial fourth part that you guys have requested, and it's a really good idea. What happens if we stay at Bayern and sack the director of football and replace him with another? Because the issues that we're left with now, or the potential problems, are a glitch caused by the January update that just affects where we were at that time, because we've seen it's not just a career, we've moved on to another club and it's functioned okay. It's possibly the leagues with B teams where there's effective issues, because we have seen the transfer activity is significantly smaller in the Bundesliga and in La Liga than it is to the Premier League. However, I would caveat that by saying that some of the teams here are still signing young players as well as senior ones, just not us and not by Leverkusen by the looks of it. And the other thought was, maybe we just got the worst director of football, or it was just a glitch affecting him. So what we've done in this fourth part, at your request, a lot of you in the comments, is we sacked the director of football who was doing nothing. We employed the same director of football that Didier Deschamps brought in part 1 and part 3 of this experiment, just to see mainly if he would go for the same types of players, because there's 3 or 4 that he signed or tried to sign in both saves. And we want to see if in this universe he tries to sign them as well, or if because I'm here, he then doesn't go and do anything. So let's go and find out the answer to that as we go through to the transfers. We're going to head over to Football Manager. We're going to see what's happened in the last 3 transfer windows and see whether this director of football, who we know will sign players if Didier Deschamps is in charge, has done so with us in charge at the helm of Bayern Munich. Let's go and find out the answer. This part is going to be interesting. A good suggestion from you folks as well. Let's go and have a look. Well then, we return on the 3rd of September 2034, our favourite date for this save at the minute, having just lost 3-0 at Dortmund on deadline day. A bit concerned that Alan Korsavich is not registered for the league. Is he out injured long term? Oh wow, that might affect results and performances. Hopefully there's a replacement coming in. There is one good bit of news though, isn't there? Because the other player injured from Bayern Munich is not a player we had last year. So they've signed someone. That's one positive we can take out of this. And he's the joint top scorer. So must be an attacking star. Doesn't help us with that centre-back injury. The transfer budget's still enormous. The wage budget's still enormous. So I'm guessing they've not done a huge amount of business unless they've sold loads as well. And that's sort of what I want to know. With this director of football, are we going to get more what he did with Didier Deschamps? Or are we going to get that fire sale, that exodus of senior players again, with no real replacements coming in? Or will we get a combination of the two? So just to show you, we have brought in the same director of football, Pablo Longoria. He was actually at Benfica and was brought in by Deschamps, so we've done the same. Perfect attributes, perfect personality, just gets the job done. You could not get more from a director of football. Negotiates, judges well, he does everything perfectly. So let's have a look at what it's delivered by firstly having a look at the performance of the club. Have they managed to pick up any trophies last season? How did it go? Won the Bundesliga, that's a positive, kept that going. Won the German Cup, won the Super Cup. Nothing in the Champions League, as you might expect. So what on earth has happened with this squad? Has it all gone wrong this summer? Or have they brought in more than one new player? Let's look at the squads. Oh, God. That might even be smaller than the squad that we saw in Sunday's episode, where we stayed in charge with the old director of football. Now, we can see that new signing's there. However, there is one other new player in there, Seydou Kouakou. Justin Diel has stayed, who hadn't last time. However, there's still no De Ligt, there's still no Davis. That exodus of older players, Florian Wirtz as well, has definitely happened. And this smaller squad has actually got more youth players in because you've got McKennie, Kreugelmeyer, Markovic and Ultrock. So there must be someone else who's gone that I'm not seeing as well. Is it Rodrigo Ribeiro? I don't see him there, do I? So there might be one or two more we've got to look at here. This could be really frightening. Let's get through to the transfers then, see what damage has been done. Markovic rejects a move away. Rafa rejects a move. Ultrock as well. What is the transfer history like? Last season, one more player in after we left in January. Loads of players out, but of course we were here for some of them. But actually, this was a bit different from the director of football because he sold senior stars in the first transfer window. I'm kind of wondering how they won the league because Marquinhos and Paul Vanna were both sold on deadline day with no replacements coming in. Which, with Marquinhos and Pino coming out, that was both right wingers at the club. And they didn't replace them. Of course, Paul Vanna has gone as well, who was a very important player in midfield. In January, they sold Rodrigo Ribeiro for 40 million. The replacement was Hassan Ouedraogo, who came in from Gladbach. He's a midfielder and number 10, so he's not even a striker. This is a weird old transfer window, this. I would argue this might be worse than Sunday's. I mean, he's a good player. He scored goals this season. He's clearly ready for that level. But what a bizarre situation. To have sold Marquinhos and Vanna in the first window, I really didn't expect. Let's have a look at what happened this summer. Kouakou comes in for 70 million from Wolfsburg. Elite striker. Absolutely stunning player. Brilliant addition to the squad. But out, Florian Wirtz to Chelsea, 30 million. Alphonso Davies to Al Ahly for 20 million. Matthias de Ligt to Al Ittihad for 5 million. Sahane, who they signed last summer, out to Ajax for 16 million. Volkan a youngster gone. Yilmaz a youngster gone. Schultz a youngster gone. Rafa now out on loan to Real Sociedad. So how many more is that? 2 more senior additions have come in. And then they've let go Rafa now. So 1, 2 for Sahane, 3 for de Ligt, 4 for Davis, 5 for Wirtz, 6 for Vanna, 7 for Marquinhos. Ultrock went out on loan last season as well. And Rodrigo Ribeiro, 8. So 2 players in, 8 players out. And they are left now with this weird shell of a squad. I do not understand it for the life of me. I just can't work it out what's causing it with Bayern. We're going to do the same as the other saves and the other universes we've looked at in this experiment and see what's happened elsewhere in the Bundesliga or at other clubs, see what's happened in the Premier League, etc. On the face of it, I just cannot work it out. Is it just this one club? But then, this is a director of football that came in and signed 3 or 4 players when he was working with another manager. It must just be a glitch, the timing when we took charge of this club, because the 2 where we've stayed in charge with different directors of football, including one that we know signs people, there's just no business. It's leaving the squad so thin. And again, a big problem, nothing with the youth academy, no B team signings, no suggestion even of them. And while there are a couple of good players in the youth intake here, thankfully for the club, it's not enough for them to compete at a top level, and this year will be an awful one for them. We've got a player transfer listed by request who they probably can't let go because they wouldn't have a senior squad. Diel is still wanted by Saudi clubs, so don't rule out him going. And Ultrock is back, but you've got Korsavic out for 7 months there. I mean, in terms of actual senior level players at the club there, you've got 5 that are fit. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 10 players. Oh no, 11 because of Kouakou. And then you've got 4 players that have been promoted from the youth team. It's just not competitive. It doesn't make sense. But let's go and see what's happened elsewhere again. Because if we have a look at the Bundesliga as a whole and the other 3 clubs we normally take a glance at, Bayer Leverkusen in terms of transfers, yeah, they've been a bit more active actually. A few in and out. So they've seen that they needed more work last year. This season they've been very active. A youngster from us, one from City, and then another 25, 15 and 15 million pound player. They've gone big and they've actually made a profit, but that's only because they've sold a couple of massive ones. They've actually replaced what they've lost, which is what you would expect from a club. And it's all I wanted from Bayern, is replace the majority of the players you let go. But Dortmund, they have been busy enough again. A few free agents for the youth academy, but 2 senior additions. What's this guy? He's a youth player that's almost there, but 2 senior additions and only 1 departure. Last year, yeah, they were busy again, and you can see particularly in January, where they were close to something, they've gone and signed 3 senior players and a youth one. They've not really let anyone go. So Borussia Dortmund are trying to push to that next level as well. They're trying to bolster the squad and help out. Leipzig, the final ones we normally look at. Nagelsmann in charge, busy year last year, and lots of youth players coming in as well as the senior ones. In terms of outs, they did lose one massive player for 80 million, but then they were spending big money throughout the year as well. Signed one for 45, and that Toll is a player that the director of football we hired signed in both of the other saves where Deschamps was in charge. They also went big in the end of the summer window. They've improved the squad. They've replaced what they've lost. Let's have a look at the Bundesliga as a whole, because this season, if we get it in terms of transfers and the fees even, I'd actually say that's a bit more than we've seen in other ones, but a lot of those are for deals out, of course. Yes, the benefit is Bayern have made the biggest signing, but it is the only one, which is a problem. There have been some big players going elsewhere, but then a lot of clubs have been active. Wolfsburg have signed a few. Dortmund we've seen have gone for a few. And the main place you see in Bayern Munich is on the outs, but other clubs are signing youth players, so it makes me think it's not an issue with B teams. It is just a Bayern Munich problem, which I guess is a good thing in terms of us doing the alternate head coach, because when we go to Willem II and work through that career, we shouldn't have any problems. However, it does worry me that something has occurred that easily after an update. So let's go and have a final look at the Premier League, which is something we normally do in these experiments, and see what the transfer comparison is there. Of course, we know Liverpool were busy when we were in charge there in Monday's experiment. They've been busy again here. You can see 38 million, 44 million, 64 million. City have been big, another 161 million pound signing. Not a bad player as well, by the way. It's a Premier League that is high functioning, that is signing a lot of players. But interested to see Nice signing people for over 50 million. I don't remember when we were at Marseille that they were one of the very best sides in the country. They were up there, but they were behind PSG, Monaco and us. So it seems a bit odd that they've managed to spend that much. Otherwise, though, there doesn't seem to be widespread problems. Maybe the answer is it's just a Bayern Munich problem, because even the 2 with Deschamps, yes, they signed 3 or 4, but they didn't really replace what they'd lost. The only difference was in those universes, the new man wasn't letting the older players go, which we've seen when we've been in charge has happened. Probably something that the director of football would say, yes, that's good value for a player. A manager might say, actually, I need that experience. But I wouldn't have cared if they'd gone and then signed 4 or 5 players to replace those positions. That's the bit that isn't happening, and the bit I'm finding odd. So I'm not sure what we've learned from this, but we can confirm from this part that you've requested, it was not specifically the director of football. It was not just him being lazy. It is a problem when we're in charge at Bayern with a director of football in charge of transfers, but it doesn't translate to other clubs, because when we took charge of Liverpool, it all functioned as it should normally. So a very bizarre situation. Bayern Munich left with a shell of a squad again. But the good news that we've got out of these 4 parts, particularly from Mondays when we went to Liverpool, is that the director of football should be functioning normally most places. That means we can crack on with our planned second series after this one. The alternate head coach, it will have a slightly different name. We'll start on Sunday evening on the channel. We're going to take Friday off. The Southend save will continue as normal Thursday and Saturday. Then Sunday and Monday, we'll have the first 2 parts of the alternate head coach save. Those of you that have followed along the whole time will know that when we left Japan, we had a choice between Willem II and Bournemouth. One save was the realistic one financially in terms of moving home and the bigger club reputation. We had to take it based on the rules of our head coach save. Willem 2, though, was a job I really wanted to take. Go on a sort of alternate European adventure and find our way to the top via a different means. And that's what we're going to do now. So Sunday, we will be back under the same rules. A head coach save, no saying transfer staffing or contracts. I might adapt it slightly as I go along if we encounter more issues. But we will be back to take the job at Willem 2, meet the squad and staff we'll be working with. And then on Monday, we'll play our first game in charge of the club. If you're looking forward to all of that, and you did enjoy this bonus experiment that a lot of you requested, then please do put a thumbs up on the video. Let me know what you thought of the 4 parts of a whole, because I found it a bit weird with no real patterns, but it is very clear that when we are the manager and there is a director of football of any name at Bayern Munich, things just weren't happening. I wouldn't say a lot's happened anyway, but they did do a lot more in the other 2 where Deschamps was in charge, and crucially, lost a lot less in terms of the senior squad. Now, we know it functions well at Liverpool. We're hoping it will do the same at Willem 2. If you want to stay up to date and see if it does, then subscribe and turn that notification bell on. We will be back on Sunday evening to start that save with part 1. But between now and then, we're back with Southend United tomorrow as that save continues in Season 12. For now, though, there's plenty more you can catch up with as well. The Twitch channel in the eye above, where we'll be watching both Championship playoff semi-final second legs the next couple of days. And of course, the football podcast, where we'll be previewing that and the finals for all 3 leagues. Come and check those out. Give us a follow if you haven't already. But thank you very much for watching. Your support, as always, is appreciated. And I'll see you back here next time, where the head coach can function normally again, but this time via a new route.